Lead female protagonists, not just in video games, but in media across the board, from TV to movies, video games, books. I mean, really anywhere the creators can remind you that they're strong, independent women, fully capable of doing anything men can do. There's not a damn thing you can do about it. And you know what? That's perfectly fine. I have, as well as I'm sure many others would agree, zero issues with a female taking the center stage. I have no problem of a story revolving around a woman and seeing her struggles. We're all human. We all evolve emotionally, physically, spiritually, and mentally, and that's something that we all go through and transcends genders, pronouns, however we identify ourselves. That's just a fact of life. The problem starts to arise when we see things that completely contradict or go against those things that are physically possible. When you go from basing your character and their story in a world that's completely believable, turn around and give them superhuman strength or an aggressive attitude just because they're meant to be a badass, that's when it becomes laughable, and that's how these lead female protagonists have become such a meme. There ends up being a part or some type of component that breaks that immersion, that makes you start questioning the validity of what it is you're witnessing, of what's going on, of what's being said, what's being done, how it's being done. Like lifting up a giant railgun that anybody else in the story probably couldn't lift up, or end up getting tossed around, drowned, banged up so badly that you start hallucinating and seeing your dead, I guess you could say adoptive father, yet because you're such a badass when you come to, oh, can't forget the mission, gotta put my sole purpose on this earth before my own personal health. I gotta say, speaking of which, that's a specific part of Horizon Forbidden West story. Aloy's a great character. I love the world. I love the lore. The game is phenomenal, but that part specifically irritated the shit out of me. As someone that's went through, I don't know, 3 or 4 life-threatening surgeries, at any point if I came to and you told me the building was on fire and I needed to get out ASAP or else I'd be burned alive, you bet your ass I would have told you, hey bro, give me another dose of that morphine. I'll catch your ass in the afterlife. When you're hurting that badly, you kind of have no choice but to put your own recovery before everything else, before a world mission. Or maybe that's just me being selfish, and women really are that selfless. Hell, I take it back, that analogy was a little weak. If I had to get out of bed to feed my kids, I'm taking another dose of that morphine. They're on their own. They came from my genes, you know they got...
Nigga, that's that Apache blood in me, homie.
They'll fend for themselves. But you get what I'm saying, right? It's not that people have an issue with lead female protagonists. It's components or certain aspects within the story that start to become contradictory and absolute complete bullshit. I just wanted to get that out of the way to fully bring everyone up to speed on what I was talking about, what I mean, and why I think lead female protagonists get such a bad rep. Now, I think this topic gets much more interesting when you start saying that this lead female protagonist is taking charge in a Grand Theft Auto game for a number of reasons. First off, let's say this. I do believe Rockstar is capable of writing really well-rounded female characters. Point in case, Sadie Adler from Red Dead Redemption 2. I would not mind a Red Dead Redemption 3 where she is the main person you play as. Her evolution throughout that game is phenomenal, and it feels like she keeps her personality the entire time. It's not too over the top, it's not abrasive. She goes from a mourning, grieving, helpless widow to someone that just wants revenge. She completely changes her life. At the end of the game, she becomes a bounty hunter. It goes from evoking a little bit of sympathy to respect and ultimately a little bit of fear, and you see that in Arthur, and that evolution is not only gradual, it's addicting. Seeing that first argument between her and Pearson, you're instantly amused by it. You see that fight in her, that, I don't want to say bloodlust, but at the same time it's reserved, it's believable, it's a grounded character, and they did phenomenal with her. But Red Dead is a grounded series. They take their tone much more seriously, whereas Grand Theft Auto, on the other hand, is much more satirical. And on top of that, their history in their video games haven't been too kind to women in general. I mean, you see it in Grand Theft Auto 5. If you go back and play Grand Theft Auto 4, you see it a lot more. You hear it on the radio in that game. From 4 to 5, you can see the evolution in Rockstar's sense of humor pretty drastically. And from Grand Theft Auto 5 to Grand Theft Auto 6, it seems like Rockstar is taking much more positive change as well. They've said that they're changing their working environment. They've been much more sensitive towards women. They removed transphobic jokes from the next-gen versions of Grand Theft Auto 5. They removed the Confederate flag from Vice City in the GTA trilogy, and it seems like they're putting their best foot forward with having one of the main characters from Grand Theft Auto 6 being a woman. I think they can pull it off. They just gotta do it with finesse, because we are talking about a series that pushes the envelope, that does get a little bit of controversy, that does poke fun at anyone and everyone, and I think that's part of Grand Theft Auto's charm, especially since not too many game developers or game series are willing to do that. The fact that Rockstar used Grand Theft Auto as a means to basically make fun of everyone, saying, hey, nobody's safe, we're all on the same playing field, and then you take into account how successful Grand Theft Auto is as a series, it was the last safe beacon. And I think it would be a 180 if they start treading that line where it's like, oh, let's not offend anyone. Let's give them the most badass Latina the gaming industry has ever had. I don't know. I think if they go the route of making her super badass to the point where it becomes very laughable, or even part of it isn't entirely believable, I think as a series it would be a giant step back. It would leave its roots of not being willing to make those jokes and not being willing to push those buttons. It would in essence do what other video games are doing. Leave behind what established itself as something entirely unique in exchange of expanding and broadening its audience to be more acceptable for all.